All right, before we do the install, I'm going to put this little video in the beginning just to show you how easy the programming is. So this is a CDI that I've never plugged in. And here's the programming cable. So I'm going to open up Zeal Program. So up on the top it says not connected, not connected. I've never plugged this CDI in. Little waterproof cap that comes provided. So also this laptop is brand new, has Windows and everything on it. From Best Buy, it was like 129 bucks or something like that. So I just got a dedicated laptop just for doing tuning and just random stuff like this. So plugged in the CDI, and remember doesn't have any power or anything to it. All the wires are still fresh. Now it says connected, shows the tuner, shows the software version, and then you can go up here to read, and it's going to import the tune, verifying that's in the CDI, shows the curve that comes loaded in it. It's actually a pretty decent curve, I think, but shows a curve that's loaded in it. All your settings, static angle, you can do 12 different RPMs to adjust your timing. It's really cool. So map 1, map 2, you can put a map switch on your handlebars. Stop switch mode, basically just all the settings are right there. And then when you're done and you make any changes, you just hit program. It reprograms it real quick and you're done. Just like that. It's actually really simple. And this program was extremely easy to load. It's just a pretty cool setup. Anyways, just wanted to show you that. All right, everyone. Here's part 2. This is going to go over installing all the brackets, pickup assembly. I've already got the pickup on there, but we supply this bracket. We will not be supplying the electronics again. You buy those separate. All right, so let's start. You may want to chase out these 2 back holes. Sometimes they could have some crud in there or whatever, but at least just take the supplied bolts, maybe run them down first, make sure that they can run down pretty far enough that, with the spacers and everything. That'll be the start. Coupler gets removed. I don't like removing these with stopping up the flywheel or anything, puts twisting loads through the crank. Best thing in my opinion to do is just leave some spark plugs in there, leave them loose, jiggling loose. And this is our supplied tool steel coupler tool. It fits the OEM one and our machined one. They're a little different shape. Being that this one is cast and has some weird angles to it. But so start with buzzing off the original coupler. Get that off there. Set that aside. So what we're going to do now is put the pickup assembly on. This has all this hardware supplied. These holes for the pickup are slotted. I've got this design though, so it should have the proper pickup clearance to the pickup ring, with just putting the bolts in the center of the slot. So to start, assemble everything, put the 2 bolts in the center of the slot. This is the timing. This is the timing pointer. It basically has its own little bolt, plus it will use one of the main mounting bolts. So you may put a main mounting bolt in there and make sure it floats freely. Tighten down that timing pointer. Then, I always forget to do this, so don't forget to do this. This is the 2 hex head bolts for the shroud that goes on afterwards. We supply the shroud for the coupler. Those go in first because you can't put them in when it's installed. They're captured as they butt up against the engine case. So we're going to go bolt, spacer, get one started, other side, get that started. All right, those are in. Run those down. And then crank them down. All right. Now what we need to do, we're not putting the pickup ring on the coupler yet. What we're going to do is we need to get this coupler mounted and seated. And what we're going to do is we're going to tighten it on and remove it about 3 to 4 times. What that does is it's going to allow the threads to break in, because when the threads are new, the crank and the coupler are not mated to each other. Every time you tighten this on, it's going to tighten a little farther, tighten a little farther. Just in the beginning mostly. First 3 or 4 times. After the 4th time, it's going to have found its home, and every time you tighten it on, it'll be about in the same place, which that'll become relevant later when I'll explain the timing. This tightening on in the same place isn't critical, but it's helpful when we get to the point of doing the final timing setup. So what I'm going to do is basically buzz this on. Same thing, loose spark plugs. Just use the engine compression as your force behind the impact gun. And so obviously you will need an impact gun to do this. So run it on. I'm going to run it on and off 3 times and then do a good one on the 4th to lock it down. Final one. Give it a good set of ugga-duggas there on that final one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to call this not final timing position, but this is going to allow us to find top dead center and get out the pickup ring in position. And this is arguably the most complicated part of this entire install. What we've got to do is we've got to find top dead center on the engine, and we need to set our static angle for the Zeeltronic. And what that static angle is that the reason for it is this. The Zeeltronic, the way it works is you set a preset amount of timing advance in the engine, which is called static angle. So when the timing pickup ring comes around and triggers the pickup, it needs to be in front of top dead center, because when the ignition is firing, it's always before top dead center, BTDC. And the Zeeltronic uses that advanced timing, that static angle timing, and it removes timing off of that to run the engine. And most two-stroke engines will never really run anything over about 35 degrees of advanced timing. So if it can only remove timing, let's say you only had 10 degrees of advance set up in the static angle, you could never bump your timing up above 10 degrees because the Zeeltronic can't add timing, it can only take it away. So we need to make sure that our timing is preset in the static angle above 35 degrees to be safe. So the perfect sweet spot is about 40 to 45 degrees is the sweet spot. We're going to shoot for that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So here's the timing pointer. We need to get top dead center found and marked. So have a Sharpie, a fine tip Sharpie ready. And this, again, this point of what we're doing right now, this is not super critical right now. We're just getting a baseline because we're going to do a final timing position in the very end as the last step. And then what that's going to do is give us an idea where to set the static angle in the Zeeltronic. And that's going to get done on the laptop for the programming, and I'll show you that in step 3. So here we go. So the engine from your view rotates counterclockwise. So this is the angle of rotation, or the direction of rotation that the engine rotates when it's running. So it's counterclockwise as you're seeing it. From there, what we need to do, so now we need to mark top dead center on this coupler. And the way we're going to do it is, this is a supplied, it's actually a wheel bolt, but it's the correct spark plug threads. Sometimes these are a little tight running it down in your cylinder head. You might want to wire brush off the threads just to make them a little bit smaller, just so you can run this down by hand. So what we're going to do is, before I run this down, you don't really want to force this into the piston. So look down the top, bring the piston all the way up to top dead center visually, looking through the spark plug hole, and then run it back down a little bit before threading this in. So, gonna thread our top dead center tool, let's call it, down in, and then want to bring the piston back up until it touches. So I got lucky there, it touched. Don't want to force it. So now what we want to do is, I'm backing the bolt off on top dead center, and what I'm trying to do is get just a little bit of spacing here. So if the bolt passes right about here, I'm going to back off a little bit, run the bolt down about a quarter of a turn, and now it's bumping into the bolt. So what I'm going to do is now do not move that bolt. Grab a Sharpie, run this down one direction so it hits this direction. Now rotate the other direction. Don't wipe off your Sharpie mark. Rotate the other direction, and I'm going to put a mark so you can see that, hopefully. And now the main timing mark is going to go right in the middle of that. For now, just eyeball it. So I've got 2 marks there. So I'm going to eyeball, because right now this is not super critical. So eyeball, make a long mark in the center. I'm going to wipe off those first 2. So that's going to be top dead center when the piston is at the very top of the stroke. Now what we need to do is put our timing tape on there. So this is a supplied sticker, and what this is hope that's auto-focusing, but what this is a calculated measurement of the distance around this coupler, and it's going to start at 0, which is marked TDC if that's focusing, 10, 20, and just 10-degree increments. So the way this works is, you've got extra here. You're going to cut a row out of that. There's the row. And what we need to do now is stick this 0 mark, which is the one right above TDC, so I'm going to cut that off. We stick that 0 mark on the TDC line. Okay, so just line that up on 0. Wrap that around the coupler, push that down pretty good. So now we've got a 0 mark, we've got TDC. What this is, now what we need to do is, we're trying to find the position for the pickup ring, the magnetic ring. This is steel, it's just Cerakoted. So it this, the pickup has to sense something that's magnetic, so that's why it's got to be steel. When the engine is running, again, it's coming counterclockwise. So these are all degrees before top dead center. So there's 50 degrees before, 40, 30, 20. And if we need this pickup to sense the leading edge of this lobe is going to run center on the pickup. And we need to have 40 to 45 degrees of advance set up. So this is the leading edge lobe. When this is rotating around, when this front edge of this is in line with the middle of the pickup, that's where we need to try to bolt this down with all these different mounting holes in the ring. So if there is top dead center 0, we need to set the pickup so it triggers we need to set the ring so that it triggers the pickup to tell the engine to spark, is basically what we're doing, for the static angle 40 to 45 degrees advanced. So I'm going to set the pointer here right on the 45, so just kind of dead center between the 40 and the 50. And then what I'm going to do is look straight down the pickup and put a mark dead center on that pickup. And we're going to now remove the coupler and try to bolt this down so the leading edge of this is right on that mark. And what that's going to do is give us a really good static angle. That works out well. So make sure that your top dead center finder is pretty far backed off. Try to leave those loose again so we can spin this off. You've got that mark back there on the coupler. Don't wipe that away because that's our static angle position that we need to try to bolt this up to. So that'll be the next step. So now, coupler comes back off. There's the mark I just made. Hopefully that's focusing. Now, reminder, this is coming up, and this leading edge of the lobe here, not the middle of the lobe, but just this front edge, is going to line up with the middle of the pickup, which is that mark that I made. So now what I'm going to do is line that up. Hope I get lucky. Come around. Holes don't line up perfect, so now I got to make a choice. Do I want to go back towards or add a little bit more? So I'm going to choose one of those positions. So I'm lining up there, and I'm lining up there. I am going to shoot for a little bit less. That'll be about the 40 degree mark. I'm never going to run more than about 32 degrees of timing, so we should be safe. And now it's time to run down the bolts, and then this will be the final tightening of this ring. There's 6 threaded holes in the coupler. We're just going to use 3 and crank these down. Just use the matching 3 radial sets. And once this is tightened down, so you can crank this down really good now. Do not want that coming loose when the engine's running. Make sure you got the washer on. Now I would actually add a little bit of grease to the crank threads. Okay. And then when we're spinning this on, now that we've got the pickup ring on there, we want to make sure that the lobes on this ring are not hitting the pickup. They're not supposed to touch. They're supposed to have about 20 to 25 thou clearance. I know mine is not hitting because I already have this set up, but just check yours. Make sure that's not smashing into this. They're not supposed to touch. And now we can do our final tighten again. So this should tighten down really well now that it's already been seated. So give it a good crank. Okay, that is tight. From there, we actually do supply this set screw. The chances of this tightening on any more than that are very slim. You'd have to get something stuck in your impeller or something like that, or a bearing seize in the pump or something like that for this to tighten on any farther. You need a 10 mil Allen. Grease those threads up, grease the nose of that, and then we're going to run this down. So with this set screw in here, I've done some testing and I could not get the coupler off with that set screw ran down. So run that down with the impact. Coupler is in final position. You will need, let me grab that, some feeler gauges to set the gap between the pickup and the coupler, or the pickup ring. Spacing should be about 20 to 25 thousandths. I know mine's already set right at 20, but I'm going to check it. So bring the lobe up in line and make sure you can slide a feeler gauge between, and that's 20 thou. Doesn't need to be any tighter than that, 20 to 25 thou. Just adjust those and slide that in or out as needed. Okay, so static angle set, let's check it. So I'm going to bring that lobe around dead center with the pickup, and I'm sitting right at 40 degrees. So I've got 40 degrees of static timing. Perfect. What we need to do now is we need to double check that the coupler did not thread on any farther. It probably did. So I am going to remove this sticker and assume that it threaded on farther. That's why you've got extras here. So I'm going to cut another one and have it ready. And then from here, we're going to do the top dead center check again. So piston down. Okay, we're touching. Keep backing the bolt off. I'm not grinding that in the piston, it's bump into it, turn, bump into it, turn, bump into it, turn. I can see my original top dead center Sharpie mark there, so we'll just check that. Okay, so I'm bumping into it, I'm not going to move it. And if you get this really close and you can get the marks close to each other, it's a little easier to eyeball this. So I'm going to mark center, spin the other direction. Until it bumps into the piston the other direction. Yep, I got really close there. It did tighten on a little bit more. Maybe about 30 thousandths, not very far. So I'm going to mark, really, your eyes work really well in this situation. If you get the two marks that close, that's perfect. Just eyeball that. You're going to be really close. This is way more precise than any of the factory ignition in checking your timing. So now we're going to put the new sticker on, 0 on your new mark. Wrap that around, kind of mess that up. This sticker's probably going to end up coming off in use. These couplers get pretty hot, so this will probably end up coming off. Shouldn't cause any problems, but you could remove it once you get your final timing set, which we will go over in one of the future steps here. But now just to verify, I'm going to bring this lobe around. Remember to always remove this bolt. You don't want to force the piston into this bolt. So that is out. I'm going to bring that leading edge around, line it up center with the pickup. And yeah, so you can see I'm at 40, let's say 42 degrees now, which is even better. And again, this does not matter because I know what my static angle should be. It should be about 42 degrees. So remember that once you get everything set up. And then when you go on your laptop and you program the CDI, when the Zeeltronic asks for your static angle, you're going to type in 42 degrees. And then at that point, so we are set now. Coupler shroud can go on. So just start these. If you need to bend the shroud a little bit to make it so that these thread in a little bit easier, it bends really easy. You just flex it to either spread the width or tighten it up a little bit. Because when it's in the ski, if you need to remove it, it's going to be much easier to run those down most of the way by hand. We provide this little tool steel 10 mil, it's a little stubby, so when you're tightening everything down in the ski, you got a little more just room to swing around the wires, battery, and whatnot. Okay, shroud crank down. This is made so that you can see the timing between there. It's a little bit hard to see the numbers, but you basically know what's there. And then the process will be get your CDI program with your static angle. We'll go through all that, and then we're going to set a flat timing curve of 15 degrees. And what that's going to do is allow us to check the timing and make sure that, you know, if the timing curve is flat, so from idle to 4,000 RPM, it's just going to be a straight across timing curve of 15 degrees. We're going to put a timing light on here once everything's back in the ski. Run the timing light and make sure that that little pointer is on 15 degrees on the timing tape there. That should do it for now, and that's really the basic setup. I think I covered the concept of it, and I'll talk about more in the next steps, next videos. Thanks.